Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Jenesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Jenesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Jenesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Insurance Agency Success Podcast. Today, I sat down with Marty Karriker. Marty and I have known each other since he first started using Jenesis 27 years ago. And Marty will share in this episode how he built an agency from one location to 8 or 9 locations, sold that large agency group, and then started another agency. And that's what he's doing now. And he'll share with you what lessons learned in that first phase, and then what he's doing now and strategies he's using now that I think you'll find very interesting and helpful. Marty's doing a couple things. I don't want to give it away in this intro that I think everyone watching this video can implement some strategies this week, 1 or 2 things that are golden and that you can so easily implement this week that will make a difference in your closing ratio and your retention, guaranteed. Marty also ends our time together today with amazing advice from his father that, again, I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll let you watch that in the episode. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Marty Karriker. Marty, welcome to my podcast.
Well, thank you, Eddie P.
Let's start, even though you and I have known each other for a long, long time. I think you were 30, I was 32. So we've known each other 5 or 6 years so far, right?
Oh my God.
Start by, let's introduce yourself. Let's tell the listeners who you are, how you got started in the business. Just give us that little bit of a rundown, kind of a high level, but a rundown up until where you are now.
So I came from an insurance background. My dad was in the insurance business, but he happened to be on the life and health side. So when I was in college, I got my life and health license and was literally going door to door selling Medicare supplements to seniors. When I finally graduated college at NC State, I moved back to the Charlotte area, Cornelius, and was still in the life and health side of things, but I had an opportunity to purchase a property and casualty agents from a agency from a friend of my dad's. So I felt like, I don't know, something just led me to raise the money to be able to purchase that agency. And the main difference being at that time, the customers were coming to him, meaning they were walking in and buying insurance versus knocking on doors selling Medicare supplements and life insurance, which is literally what we did back then. So we bought the property and casualty agency and had really good success, especially for being only, 22, 23 years old. And back during that time, insurance was more, especially the kind that we sold, was more of a walk-in type service. It was less over the phone or less by computer, and it was more face-to-face. That said, if we had an office on one side of town, it didn't do a whole lot of good for the other side of town, being it was a city like Charlotte. So we started opening multiple offices. And for lack of a better word, we franchised, not officially a franchise, but we branched out and gave equity ownership to several agencies on a model that we created. And, next thing you know, we're up to about 8 different locations, including High Point and Greensboro. All of them were North Carolina. And basically that's the origin, and that goes back to the early 90s, 1992 to be exact.
That brings you up to 1992.
Oh, okay. So let's move forward. So moving forward, as life goes, as business things happen, This agency might have sold out for a particular reason or another, and then so we had some that I owned independently, and then I had some that were, for lack of a better word, franchised. So some of the franchises we bought them back, and then ultimately we sold the entire agency at that time. And by the way, the agency at that time was under a different brand name than the one that I ended with, or that I'm with now, for that matter. But we ended up selling the agencies, and we consolidated as the internet ramped up and things become done more commonly over the telephone or over the internet. The physical location of an office wasn't quite as important. So everything went more digital. So we started realizing we don't have to have the physical location to sell insurance anymore because people are now doing it by phone. And so we morphed into a different model. Ultimately, we, back there in that time, and I say we had a business partner at the time, we sold to a national firm and worked for them for several years until I branched off and formed the RV insurance shop.
So you started the agencies, essentially bought an agency in 92.
Bought a single location in 1992.
Grew that into eight or nine locations, and then ran that for years, and then sold everything. There's a few things happened in the middle, but then sold the whole group about what year?
That would have happened around 20. It started late 2016, early 2017.
Okay, so around 2017, sold it all, and then you did what?
Well, we work for a corporate agency, and I'll keep the name aside, but we still operated under our name of Charlotte Insurance at that time. And by the way, when we first started off, the name of the agency was Insure-A-Car. Insure-A-Car, INSUR-A-car. We specialized in high-risk auto, anybody with accidents, tickets, DWIs, we specialized in that. Well, there was a specific market for that account. But then what happens when that person who may have had accidents, tickets, or DWI, now years have gone by and he or she's a clean driver? Well, we had to have markets for that too. So we got markets for the good drivers or the ones without the accidents, tickets, and DWIs. Okay, well then this customer happens to be a business owner. Well, we had to get into the business insurance, the commercial general liability, and the work comp. So we've grown, and in the commercial auto as well. So we grew into that just by default because people change. At first the Insure-A-Car, we were targeting the people with accidents, tickets, and DWIs. It was a thing back there in the 90s. As technology has grown and developed and insurance carriers became more plugged into instant credit checks and driving records, they realized that, hey, that driver that had an accident or ticket or DWI, let's not throw them aside because now they're a clean driver. Let's sharpen our pencils here and give them a better rate and keep them. So our carriers become more competitive within that standard. We call it a standard market. Standard being a term, a standard rate by the Department of Insurance, insurance stuff. But the insurance carriers that we work with started targeting that market as well, which is good for us.
So to keep my head clear on the timeline and the progress and how things have evolved, 2017, you sold to a larger group. You were a large group. You sold to a much larger group. And then you stayed on until about when?
Until around 2022-ish.
Okay. All right. And then that sort of, you took a little bit of a hiatus. True?
Mm-hmm. True.
Then you started something different.
Yeah. I had people were actually hunting me down and trying and finding me from one way or another.
Is that good or bad, Marty? People are hunting you down.
Well, in a good way. They wanted me to be their agent. And so the way the RV insurance shop evolved was my now wife. It was a very special way that we met. But we met at the beginning of this thing called COVID, which was in China at the time. Well, we're thinking, gosh, once I proposed to her, I'm thinking, where are we going to get married? But everything's shutting down. And can we even do a honeymoon? Like, what are we going to do? So I started looking at travel destinations on YouTube. And then I started looking at this channel popped up. It was an RV influencer about RV living, RV lifestyle, RV vacations, things like that. So I told my wife, I says, you know what? When we get married, since everything's shut down and we've got to, be careful now with this thing called COVID, maybe we do our honeymoon at an RV resort, an RV park. I said, that way it's just you and I in the RV, and we can't get COVID if we're not around people. We're outdoors. So that's a pretty good, thought of this. I thought it was a good way to go. So we ended up doing that. But during the process, I was watching several RV influencers, and there was a particular influencer who had a video. And within that video, they said something about insurance that was incorrect. They didn't mean to say that. They just didn't know. So I felt compelled to contact them and say, hey, that what you mentioned in the video is not correct. I've been in insurance for 30 years and I'm a follower of your channel. So I just thought I'd point that out. And they were very appreciative of that. And so appreciative, they says, hey, why don't we do a video about insurance and insuring RVs? I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we did a video about insuring RVs. And when I got done with that video, a couple days later, when it finally posted, my phones and emails blew up. It was overwhelming. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I rallied the troops. I got everybody authorized RV insurance experts, and we finally got in behind it and got on top of it. And several thousand policies later, we were one of the largest writers of RV insurance in the nation as far as agents goes. So that was the origin of what I have now become today as the RV insurance shop. And yeah, we do anything with wheels. We're kind of reverting back to how I started. I started with InsureCar, and we did mostly everything with wheels. And now I'm sort of towards the last chapter of my insurance career, and I'm doing anything with wheels. But it's a fun market. I get to talk to people, and the RV community by far is the nicest collective group of people that I've ever talked to. They're all, I've never met an RVer that wasn't nice that I had an issue with. They're all really cool to talk to.
So that brings you up to current. That's what you're doing right now. So you've got this RV insurance shop, and your focus is on these RV customers and rounding out accounts too, right? So if you insure my RV, you're going to be there if I need my auto and my home and that kind of thing.
Yes. So we round them out, but the lead in is always the RV. And then after that, obviously, if they've got a fifth wheel, they've got a truck that's pulling it. So we'll insure the truck. And then they have a home. So we'll offer to insure the home. And then if they're business owners, we'll do the business. But the lead in is typically the RV.
That's so cool that you do that. And I've mentioned you actually what you're doing right now a few times on this podcast with other guests they'll be talking about their niche, because a lot of agencies will try to focus on some area of expertise. And just like you, they might accommodate the other surrounding policy types, but their messaging is all about the one thing, because it's so much easier to get someone's attention for you if you're speaking to an RV owner and you specialize in RV insurance than if you're trying to, and you're doing that nationwide, which is so cool. But compare that to what if you were trying to reach out nationwide to everybody for everything? You'd have no specific message. You wouldn't know who you're targeting, and you'd just be lost in the noise because you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of agencies doing the same thing. So I think that's really cool when you find something like that. And it's also cool to hear you talk about it's fun to deal with those people because they're having a good time. They're happy about what they're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm not the most people person ever, but I like talking to people. I like talking to the customers. They love the experience. I would say 70, 80% of them will do a Zoom call just like we're doing now. And we go through the coverages literally line by line on the screen. And the customers seem to really appreciate it, and they get more out of it, and they're part of the situation. Because let's face it, people that aren't in the insurance business, if you talk about liability and med pay and deductibles and co-insurance, all these different terminologies, you lose them. But when they're looking at it, they can pick, no, I want higher limits. Oh, okay, it only costs an extra $10. Yeah, I'll go with $100,000 more coverage for that. Or let me take these different deductibles. Oh, let me go to 1,000 deductible. That saves me $50. Yeah, I'll do that. So they're part of the process of the policy, and because of that, they feel really good and secure with what they've purchased with the final decision. And there's all kinds of nuances that go with the RV policies than with just a regular auto policy. There's a lot of things that go along with that are different. And so we've obtained the level of what's called an RV insurance expert with some of our carriers because of the level of detail that we go through. And because of anytime a customer has a better understanding of their policy, and when I say the customers, a collective database of customers, if they have a better understanding, there's less claims. There's smarter claims because they understand it. So we perform better because of the level that we go through in educating the customer about the policy than most other agencies.
All that's interesting. The Zoom thing is really interesting. If someone calls you up and says, I don't have a motorhome, or, I just want to get get car insurance with you or home insurance, are you doing the Zoom call with them too? Or is this a RV strategy?
Or I'd like to talk to everybody because I like them to see the person, if there's a person behind the phone call. So if we do an auto only or commercial, something like that, yeah, we don't have to do the Zoom call. We don't require it. And not 100% of the people have the ability to do the Zoom call. So we'll do it without it. But to your question on a monoline auto policy, we'd be a little less insistent on doing a Zoom call, but we do offer the Zoom call, but not 100%. I offer 100%, but not everybody has access to it.
So I love it. And so when I think about the Zoom call difference, especially when you're doing a lot of business online, doing a lot of business that's all over the United States where they're not going to walk in your front door, I would imagine that you would see an improved closing ratio when you're doing a Zoom call with someone, because there's something about human to human. It's not perfectly human to human. You can't really shake the hand, but it's better than nothing at all. It's better than email, better than a phone call. And I also think, Marty, that it would increase retention because now they know you.
Yeah, they could put a face and a voice together with who's behind the quote. And yes, we do have really, really good retention. There's no agency on planet Earth that wins 100% of the time or that has 100% retention. But I feel like that our retention is in the top tier because of the relationships that we have with the customer.
Do you think, is there a downside to this Zoom angle? Like what would a potential other agency say? Like, takes too much time, too much effort, I don't want to work that hard. What would they say?
Well, some people don't want to just be on camera. I don't mind doing it on a video. It takes a little more time. I mean, it'd be easier for me to just rate the policy and send them a quote and they either buy or they don't buy. That'd be easier, but I'm going to close so many less of those. And there are instances where I'll do the Zoom call, I'll have my camera on, and the customer, for whatever reason, either they don't have a camera, but they can still see my screen, or they don't want to be on camera. More of the ladies instead of the men, maybe they don't want to be out there, they didn't do their hair or whatever situation. They don't want to be on camera. Even in that situation, I'm generally talking and I'll display so they can put a name and a face together and they know who their agent is. And I'll proceed that way. But no, sometimes people just prefer it. And then there is occasionally where somebody says, can you just email it to me? I don't have time for a Zoom call. That's fine too. But we offer it 100% of the time.
Okay. I like that a lot. I think that's a nugget that people could take away. One of the things that you shared with me many years ago, so we've known each other approximately 30 years. Isn't that something?
Wow.
We've known each other about half our lives. One of the things you've shared a lot with me over the years. One of the things that you shared with me was your philosophy on how you look at competition. And here's what I recall. You correct me on what I say, and then tell me if that's changed in any way over the last 30 years. But here's what I remember. I remember you saying that you did not feel like you needed to keep your secrets from your competitors, because if you, this is totally paraphrasing everything, but and it's been a long time, but you felt like if you were able to talk to a competitor and share ideas and strategies, that they may take some of your ideas and strategies, but hopefully you're taking some of theirs. But that the real trick was that nobody was going to outwork you anyway. So you didn't feel like it was a threat for anybody to know your tricks, because success was not a result of tricks. It was a result of effort. I'm paraphrasing all that. It's been a long time. Any thoughts about how I'm remembering that and how you feel today about all that?
Well, another way to say it is, if I'm of equal knowledge with equal markets as my competitor, so they have the same markets, the same knowledge, the same experience, I could admit to that. What they're not going to do is outwork me. And because of that, I think that gives me a little bit of an edge. Now, again, yeah, that comes with a little bit of inner arrogance. It's not meant to be outer arrogance, but that's just this is how it's my own personal drive. It's how I get up each day and I tackle it with that mentality. Now, yeah, is there somebody that works harder than me out there? Probably, but I don't know who they are. But I like to think that I'm outworking them. But it's it's one of them self pep talk type of things. That nobody's going to outwork me.
Well, I like it. And I think when I look around, and I've had the privilege over the last 30 years of working with a lot of successful agencies. I'm going to go back. I've worked with a lot of agencies like you, a lot of agencies, some, varying levels of success. And honestly, the ones with the attitude like you're describing, the ones who are not fearful of competition, know what they're doing, are the ones who seem to grow the most. And the ones who are really secretive, trying to keep things close to their chest, are the ones that don't grow as much as the others. So that's interesting to me how that works. The ones who are trying to hold on to things, they don't keep getting more. The ones who are open seem to prosper. So just thought that was interesting. And partly want to make sure you agree with that. I was recalling that your stance was that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm very humbled by this, but I welcome anybody to look at our Google reviews and see what the customers have to say about their experience. Thus far, and maybe this won't last forever, we're all 5-star. And I'm very humbled by what the customers have to say. It makes it that much more worthwhile.
I think that's another good nugget. Google reviews are huge. We did a thing yesterday, and I think a statistic came out that 95%, I would not have thought it would have been that high, 95% of consumers in the U.S. will read a review before making a purchase decision. That's huge if that's true. And may get another statistic from a different source, but I'm sure it is high. And more people, most of us either use reviews or are close to people who do. And it's either, because if you look at two different options for buying anything, and one's got a lot of reviews, pretty good, and one, by the way, even if they've got 5 stars, but there's 4 reviews, and it's been 6 months or a year since they've had a review, I'm not inclined to go work with them. I'm kind of scared a little bit. So I think Google reviews are a big deal. Okay. That catches us up on the history, the Marty history. That catches us up on a good bit of philosophy. A couple specific questions, sort of specific. What is your definition of success in life or insurance business?
First of all, again, I'm a believer in Christ, and I want to make sure that comes first, that, when my time comes, I have succeeded by honoring him. 2, business. I might have to think about that one, Eddie, because business, again, I guess if you could be a debt-free business, if you could make enough income to sustain yourself and hopefully create a legacy, something to leave behind, either to your spouse or your family or your loved one, and you build something possibly that you could retire on. Now, again, do I want to retire with $10 in the bank or $10 million in the bank? I mean, there's different levels of success, but that's a really broad question. I'd have to think more about it to answer that. But
Well, another way to paraphrase it, maybe, Marty, would be you think about you and I are approaching 60. I'm a little ahead of you, not much. And you and I are going to work 5 more years, 10 more years, maybe 15 or 20, but some period of time more. What do you brought? Which one? 5?
Absolute max for me is 5. I'm saying I'm 57, 62. I'm probably not going to be now. I might have staff, but I'm definitely probably won't be necessarily customer facing. Maybe not sure.
That's fine. I was just going to say then in 5 years from now, what do things need to look like? Because that's success. What do you hope they look like? What's your picture? Team members, size of agency. Are you going to sell most likely step back and let it run and continue? And that's also kind of playing into goals. Another question could be, what is your goal for the next 5 years / what does success look like?
Yeah. So success looks like for me that, when the time comes and I'm retired, that I'm not stressed over how I prepared for retirement, that if I want to take this vacation or if I need to buy a new car or whatever the case may be, that I'm financially in position to be able to do that. And so financial stability and peace of mind is important to me. Now, I'm not trying to buy a $2 million Learjet or whatever they cost. Maybe they're $5 million. I don't know. That's not my market. I live relatively humble. So I guess the answer to that has a big degree of variance because I think that by the time I retire with what I've built within the insurance industry should well enough sustain me through the rest of my life, and I'll be able to leave behind a nice legacy for my daughters or my wife if I go first.
Okay. I like that.
I don't know if
I think it's fine. I mean, it's just whatever's in your feeling, and you certainly, I'll underline up here on my notes, God honoring is how you started all that out. Your goal of success is God honoring, your idea of success, everything done to honor God. Specifically on goals, it can be a yes or no answer, or you can go into it a little more. Do you currently set written goals? Yes or no?
Okay, this is going to be counterintuitive. I'm saying right now no, and the reason is because I'm a very smaller boutique agency, and the way that I'm operating now is I turn the throttle back and forth depending on the situation. Like right now, being that it's winter, or we as in general are not out and traveling as much. We're not doing as much in the winter. The days are shorter. So I'm more at the desk and I'm more involved with generating the leads. When I want to pause, and there's different ad campaigns I run and there's different influencers I work with. I just don't run as many of those. Therefore, the phones don't light up as much as they normally would. Now, when I'm in full work mode and I plan for a video to be dropped by an influencer or ad, then I've got to have me and my business partner and wife all at the desk ready to go. And I'm in a position right now where I can gas pedal down, throttle up, and drive more leads, or I can back off a little bit and have less leads. And even when I'm not doing anything, because we're being found now organically, we still have a steady flow. And sometimes that steady flow for me, I'm kind of at the point where, if I could do honestly with what I do with the amount of the premiums and everything, a couple policies a day just for one person, it adds up.
Yeah. 2 policies a day for one person's great. That's really good. You talk about turning the throttle, up and down, and ads. So I get the social influence thing. So you're leveraging people that are social influencers, in your case, in the RV space, like YouTube and that sort of thing. That's genius. And that's a level of effort that you go back and talk about nobody outworking you. Most people not outworking you. That's probably true, because most people are not going to establish those relationships. If they could, oh my gosh, so much opportunity out there through unique strategies like that. So that's amazing you're doing that. But you also mentioned ads. Is that Google ads, Facebook ads, both, something else?
I've done some Google ads and some Facebook ads, and then I've done videos with influencers on Facebook. And
Okay.
the Facebook influencer videos are expensive. Not gonna. If anybody wants to do an ad with an influencer that's got any kind of size, it ain't cheap.
Okay.
But can be very profitable.
Okay. As long as you get the ROI, then it's usually a good deal. So your marketing strategies, simply put, are social influencers, Google and Facebook ads, and SEO.
Yeah, and SEO. Right now, I'm putting a little bit more effort into SEO because a nice organic lead, if you're growing organically and your website is showing up well on searches for your products, then that's the best way to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you think about the money you're spending on all of this, because you just said the social influencer videos can be expensive, and having somebody manage your ad campaign as well as spending the ad spend with Facebook or with Google, and SEO work that you're having done every month, I'm sure. When you think about your budget for these things, how do you think about that? Like, do you think I need to be spending a certain percentage of my total revenue? Or do you think I need this thing done? It costs this, so that's what it is. And then do you measure results? How well do you measure that? What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I look at the ad spend and then I divide it by my average policy and the average commission per policy. I'd say, so just if I'm going to use nice, simple numbers, let's just say hypothetically it's $1,000 policy. And let's say you're making 10% commission. Okay. So that's $100 per policy. Well, out of this particular ad, I have to sell X number of policies to cover the ad expense for that ad. So I do track whenever we run an ad or we do something that we wrote this many policies that the person called us. We track that. So the person called us from that ad and we sold X number of policies. So we covered our marketing, or obviously we made money at our marketing. And again, the average policy of 1,000 is just a number. It's more than that. The average commission of 100, it's a little more than that. But you just got to do the math, and you got to think of this ad. This is the amount of policies, and tracking the source of the policy is important. The source of the phone call, the lead, which hopefully converts to a policy. That's very important. And then tracking how much you spent to get that one in and how much did you make off of that. So there's some math equations involved that you look at whenever you do an ad spend, regardless if it's an influencer or any other type of ad.
SEO is a little different because that's something that requires a little more faith, I would guess, right? Because it's not as simple as seeing if you're spending $500 a month or $1,000 or a couple thousand a month on SEO. It's not as simple as watching the ads, correct? Right? That's more of a little bit of a faith investment. Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's correct.
But SEO is something you do now. And if I remember right, you've done it for many, many years. You believe in SEO.
Absolutely. You got to rank. And the only thing that's a little challenging with a local agent like ours, I don't care how much you spend if you type in an ad, a search for a product, and there's a carrier like a Progressive, which is one of our carriers, they're always going to show up on top. You can't get above a carrier like that. So you might as well face that, but you can get as close to the top as you possibly can of the search engines. And some people bypass the major carriers on purpose just to get to maybe a local agent, a specialist. And so we do we do get a lot of calls from that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for all that. We do have a long history. So can you do kind of a quick overview of your Jenesis history and then and now and your experience as a high level?
Yeah.
High level?
Well, I think that for Jenesis to be developed by an insurance-minded person, primarily in his core, Eddie, you're an insurance guy. Now you're a software guy. But what better person to have the insight to know what the end product needs to perform well for an agency than somebody who lived and breathed insurance for so many years. So Jenesis is intuitive that way, and that it's laid out in a way that's smart, that's common sense, that somebody with the ability and the foresight of Eddie, which not everybody has, could look into it and develop something bigger and better. There were products out that, Eddie, you used prior to developing Jenesis, and something about those products either, I don't know, maybe wasn't quite meeting your needs and you needed to get a little bit more out of it, so you decided to develop your own. And on top of that, you started thinking, well, there's X number of agencies just in North Carolina. Well, what if we went to all 50 states? This is, and you're brilliant for that. And I mean, I'd say out of 1,000 people, 1,000 of them could get an insurance license and sell insurance, but maybe one of them or less than one could actually develop a software program and market that. So it's just amazing that you've done this. Did I answer the question or did I get off track?
I don't know. My head was swelling so big. I'm not real sure where we are. No, I really thank you for all that. Very kind words. I appreciate that. I was really just thinking you've used Jenesis. You started using Jenesis about what year?
Well, I restarted the RV insurance shop officially in 2024. So let's just call it 2024.
But the first time you started using Jenesis was 1999.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm talking about the RV insurance agency. Yes, 1999.
So
yes.
So that's when we first met. We met through the Jenesis relationship. I think we sent out a postcard. Yes. You got a postcard. You couldn't attend a meeting. I remember this stuff, Marty. We've got 1,000 agencies that use Jenesis today, and I still remember these details. You were one of my first 5 or 10 customers in 99, and you responded to a postcard. They called and said somebody's on the phone with you from Charlotte. I was still working in my agency 9 to 5 and programming Jenesis at night, and got on the phone. You said, "Hey, my name's Marty Karriker with InsureCar," and you sounded really busy and professional and like a go-getter. And I can't meet the meeting that I got the postcard about, but I'd like to see more. Can you come down here and show it to me? So we did. Came down and did the demo right there in your office on South Boulevard in Charlotte in 1999. A few things that needed to happen to the software. It didn't quite meet your needs. A couple months later, it did. And the rest is history. And now you're using our new product, Jenesis now, but it's been a long relationship and we love long relationships.
Yes. Back in 99. Absolutely. And been with you a long time. And hopefully we've given good input and been part of the improvement, by our suggestions and things 100%. Like that. So
100%. Yeah. Okay. Bouncing off that a little bit. You started out talking about your story, and I wrote this down because I think some people would like to hear something here. If you'll share a little, you sold a pretty large agency in 2017. What are the pros and cons? If I'm thinking about selling my agency and I say, Marty, what do I need to be on the lookout for? What's the advantage? Why should I sell? What's the disadvantage in selling my agency? What have you learned?
Well, it's not easy to start back up. Okay. When you build something, you think of a skyscraper. How hard was it to build that skyscraper? And once you build it, you sell it, you build another skyscraper. You got to start at the bottom. You got to start with your first contract with the carrier when you get a new agency. I grew to such a level with the agency that I sold that carriers were knocking at my doors trying to get us to sell for them and represent them. When you start over, you're knocking on their doors trying to get a contract. And there's a lot of situations where the only reason I was able to get a contract with zero volume on a new startup agency was because of my history and reputation from before. And they knew that we would fulfill some of our obligations to produce. And it's not just producing, it's the experience to run the agency itself, because if you don't have that, there could be possible E&O claims and more burden on the carrier. So carriers don't just come by your office as a startup agency and throw a contract at you. I mean, it's not easy to get a contract with some of these carriers. So starting over, while that was a challenge, I had a little bit of an edge because of my resume, so to speak.
So somebody thinking about selling an agency, it's not as simple as saying, oh, definitely build your agency, sell it. I mean, there's things to consider whether you want to sell it or not. And one of the things I guess I took away from what you just said, unless you're sure you're going to exit the business, don't just sell that one and start another one. Is that kind of what your summary is on that piece of it?
Yeah, you're not going to ever start off in your second agency where you left off in your first. Now, your second agency or third or whatever may evolve and develop better than the first, but you're always starting back at ground zero when you start a new agency. And getting the carrier contracts is one of the biggest challenges. Again, some of that may depend on how you sold, why you sold, the terms and conditions. There's reasons that I sold that put me where I am now to have to start over or start a new agency that are deeper than this meeting. But at the end of the day, I'm in a very nice niche. I'm able to work because I want to work. I'm able to advertise more or less depending on my travel schedule. I don't want to be as big as I once was. I'd rather be smaller and very boutique, which is what we are. I'm sort of running the insurance agency my way instead of maybe what if I had a 20-something-year-old son or daughter that wanted to be in insurance, they probably would be doing it differently than me because I would set it up to be a massive, larger agency. So I'm running things smaller and less stressful right now.
Did you ever think about consulting agencies?
No, but
I think you would
maybe
do well.
I will.
I think you would do well at that. I think the worst part of it would be as a consultant, it's like a personal trainer. I think one of the frustrating things for a personal trainer is the personal trainer knows that if their customer will do what they say, that they'll get the results that they want to get. And then most of the time, the person doesn't do what the personal trainer says. They don't eat right, don't go to the gym like they should. So I think that'd be the biggest frustration for you. But otherwise, I think you would excel and enjoy helping people reach their goals, because even though you might not want to get back where you know you could get if you wanted to for other reasons, it might be rewarding to help other people get there. Just a thought. Okay, this time has flown, man. So let's wind it down. Is there anything that we've not talked about that you would have liked to have talked about?
I think we covered a lot of bases. The one thing that I don't know the answer to, and just going back to my actual roots, the root of my insurance career was in the life and health side, morphed over to the property and casualty, and then that's what I grew it with. Does Jenesis offer the same type of value to a life and health agent as it would be for a property and casualty agent? And the only reason I ask is I have considered, because I still carry a life and health license, is possibly offering that as well to my business clients or even individual clients as an add-on.
So I'm not going to say yes or no. The Jenesis Classic that you used to use and Jenesis Now that you use now are similar in that they're the strongest on personal lines, P&C. They're the second strongest probably on commercial lines, P&C. So personal lines is better in Jenesis. It functions better than commercial. We're pushing every day. You know, we have 20 or 30 new enhancements every single month that come out in the software. So things are improving constantly. And then I think life and health is next. So my answer would be Jenesis currently supports life and health. You can go add a life and health policy. You can add an annuity. You can add different kinds of policies under that area, and that category, med sups. And there's fields organized for that. But it probably, in all honesty, doesn't handle it. It's not our area of specialty. Most of our customers are writing, now we're seeing kind of 50-50 personal and commercial. Most of our customers are getting that commercial up. So now it's a good portion of who we serve. And then life and health is probably 20%. So it does support it. Does it support it as well? But we're always looking for room for improvement. So if you start, hopefully you would not have to go out and buy another system for life and health. But as you know, if you start doing more life and health and you say, hey, we need this, we need that, certainly open to that.
Well, think about the life and health, or especially the life. There's typically only one claim ever.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's not a whole lot of service involved there. So,
You're right.
All right. Yeah, that's okay. Good to know.
Good question. If you had to give one piece of parting advice, somebody's watching this and they're saying, well, I've only been in the business a year. I'm just starting my agency. This guy, Marty guy, he's been around a long time. He's grown a multi-million-dollar agency. He sold it and he's gone in and started another one that's very niched. What would your words of wisdom be? What's some encouraging words that's simple as advice for that person?
Well, my dad, who passed away 7 years ago, he drove it into my whole being: never give up, fight. And so don't ever give up.
Okay. Love it. If folks wanted to reach out to you, Marty, for an opinion, advice, would that be okay?
Absolutely.
And what email address? We'll pop it up on the screen, but what email address would they need to send that to?
It's first name, Marty, at rvinsuranceShop.com.
Perfect. We'll have that splash up on the screen too. Our wizards, our video wizards will have that magically appear. So I don't have anything else. Oh, let me ask you this. So in 2018 or 2019, I released my first book, The Perfect Insurance Agency. I happen to have a copy right here. This is funny to me because this is the one that's got that band across it there, which says not for resale. This is the author's copy. But so I still have this one from 2018. Did you ever read this book?
I did.
If you have
of it.
If you have not left me a review on Google, on Amazon, I mean, not Google. If you've not left me a review, if you have, thank you very much. If you've not, go out and leave me a review on Amazon. By the way, one thing I'm trying to do right now, Marty, I'm modeling to our customers, to insurance agents, how to ask for reviews. See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So I'm asking you for a review, so they'll ask it for a review. Now, yesterday—
practice what you preach.
That's right. Yesterday was a big deal for me because a long time in the making, we launched our second book. Mm-hmm. And it's the Independent Insurance Agent's Guide to Branding and Growth. By the way, this copy is also got the bar across it. This is not for resale. This is the one that Amazon sends me as a proof. But the book is officially live on Amazon now. So I would appreciate anyone watching this to pick up either book, The Perfect Insurance Agency, or the new book on Amazon. By the way, this book in 2018 or 2019, Marty, I was proud of this and grateful. It hit Amazon #1 bestseller list, and so did this one yesterday. So,
oh wow! I think it's amazing you've got the patience to write out a book. I can't imagine writing a book. To me, that's impressive, and a book that's that deep with knowledge. And because the second one, I do have that. I got it on the ebook, and I've been started reading that. So I'm on the second one. I'm several pages into it.
Okay, good. I love your feedback on that. And then I would love an Amazon review, whatever true feelings you have about it when you're prepared, when you read enough of it to feel like you can give a review, be appreciated. Okay. Yeah, we did the book launch yesterday, and one of the things I said in that meeting, tons of people on that Zoom call, but I started out by saying, this is such a relief. This feels like I've already taken my final exam in my final semester of college, and I'm getting ready to go home for the summer. And because the last year, this has been on my mind or physically working on it so much. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, or I don't mean to be negative about it, but you know what I mean? When you remember when you finished college, or like even not even the whole college, but like any semester, when you took the last exam of the last semester, do you remember that feeling of free and relaxing that you had?
Yeah.
That's the way I felt when yesterday when I was doing the release, because that was easy just to talk about the book for an hour. It was a relief. So I appreciate you saying that you think it's a big accomplishment. I did have a lot of help. My assistant, Misty, who you've met, was a big help. And of course, Lisa and the other people at Jenesis, as far as helping me when I said something wrong in the book or I was incorrect about a statistic or metric or tactic. So had a lot of help. That's all I have, Marty. I appreciate your time, man.
Okay. Well, let's have dinner soon.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agencies like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. And if you're ready to simplify and scale, visit genesissoftware.com, Jenesis with a J, and click on the orange button to request a demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep growing, keep building, and I'll see you next time.